I think there was a reduction of 30% last season from the previous season in terms of the number of cautions. This season it's pretty consistent with last year, right? 7 cautions so far for simulation. I think 6 at this stage last season. I think it's an issue that the whole game has taken some care of. You know, nobody likes to see an act of simulation. You guys don't. You know, the managers have condemned their own players on occasions when that's been evident in a game that their team are playing in. So, you know, it is something that does the game no favours, and we need to keep being as vigilant as we can be. You know, again, it's something that we work hard on in our training sessions to try to be vigilant on.
Do you think there's only been 7 this season?
7 cautions for simulation,
The whole season with all the teams? Well, obviously
in the Premier League.
In the Premier League, there was a couple. It should have been 9. What I'm saying is it's OK saying you caution. Is that...
Yeah.
Are they still getting booked for diving? You mean you look at Ross Barkley's one the weekend, I think Moses was involved in it, so that should automatically...
You're right, that's the occasions where we've chosen to caution, and you're right, there'll be some other occasions where either we've missed the offence, like you talked about Barkley, where the referee just doesn't get quite in the right position and doesn't see what actually happened. He gets fooled, if you like, or where they choose not to caution because they've got the element of doubt about whether or not it is a dive. Because, of course, we're asking officials to accuse the player of cheating, and you need that element of certainty to be able to do that. So there will be some occasions that's not happened, but our evaluation of our officials that takes place on each and every game suggests that actually the instances of referees having to make a judgment of simulation or not has also reduced.
Does a player, and it would seem to be the case where it's supported, how many times have we ever seen a referee give a penalty where a player hasn't gone down? Now, that's my second question. So, if referees start giving penalties where players don't have to go down, that might cut diving out as well. So, in terms of, obviously, players have got responsibility, but I've never seen a penalty given where a player stays on his feet. So, from a player's point of view, I'm just giving you, my view on it would be... So, 2 questions. Sorry.
Well, taking the last question, I think you're right. We need to be skilled to identify when a player has been genuinely impeded within the penalty area and penalise that as such.
Even if he stays on his feet?
Yeah, even if he stays on his feet.
But when's that ever happened?
Well, I mean, I'm sure there's been occasions, but certainly we certainly don't want to encourage players to go down without contact. Like I said, we need to be skilled in identifying when there's a genuine offence where a player stays on his feet. I think we saw Phil Dowd refereeing tonight. I'm sure last season in a game, I think up at Sunderland, he penalised an offence having tried to allow the advantage with a player who stayed on his feet. So it can happen.
But you know, sorry, you know the cost of the actual...
For a penalty?
Yeah, for a penalty, I'd accept it doesn't happen quite so often, but again, that's part of what we need to do. In terms of this, on reflection, with the evaluation of the game, we also would agree that that's a penalty kick. But this comes from an unexpected back pass from the left fullback. So
I don't think it's an easy one for him.
It's a really tough call.
Is that one way, if it's either a penalty or a yellow card, is the note should there be in between? He's that far away, I don't think you can say. I could understand him not giving a penalty, he's so far away from it. But then how can you then give the decision that you book him when you're so far away? Because, as you said, it was unexpected, but how can we be saying of that? And a player first game gets a yellow card for that? Yeah, and there can be a third way, of course. People say if it's not a penalty, it has to be a yellow card for simulation for diving. That's not always the case. There's a third way of just giving maybe a goal kick, when there's an element of doubt. Clearly, in this situation, Michael Oliver looked at that and felt with everything that he could see and with the use of the assistant that was actually diving. He didn't appreciate the contact.
Do you feel as though these can of worms, because these are particularly emotive subjects, I think, the grabbing in the box and the diving they're emotive subjects for fans, I think, as well as the media. Do you believe, from the refereeing side, that they are the, if you like, disease that in the game that people suggest, or do you believe from a referee's side that actually it's not as big as what people suggest?
I don't think it's as big a problem as what people think. I do think because of the emotions it creates when this happens, particularly if somebody gets away with an act of diving, it stirs up a lot of reaction, doesn't it? There's this feeling of injustice. We feel pretty bad about being conned by somebody who dives, because we care about what we do, and we want to be as accurate as we can be. So we work hard to get in the right position, but sometimes you just don't quite call it right. And if it involves an act of simulation, then we feel pretty. So
when they go down the box, this instance or another one, just describe in your mind what's the checklist that goes through a referee's.
Well, you're looking. First of all, you're making a judgment of whether the player's tried to deceive you, and usually you're looking for no contact. Players going down with no contact. Another occasion might be a player who clearly creates contact, and that's just as bad. I mean, a player who goes past the defender and sticks a leg out into the defender and goes over. So there's contact, but that's being generated by the attacking player. It's an act intended to deceive me as the match official into awarding a free kick or penalty.